Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself.
Breaking news that has the entire sports world absolutely shook right now. The United States Department of Justice. Yes, you heard that right. The feds are now officially watching the WNBA like hawks, and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is reportedly so stressed she needs a literal stress ball just to get through her days. Congress is asking questions. Federal investigators are circling. And at the center of this absolute chaos is none other than Caitlin Clark, the superstar who's been getting absolutely demolished on the court while league executives sit back and do absolutely nothing. This story is so wild, so unprecedented, that even the president might get involved. And I'm not even joking about that. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into the most insane sports controversy of the decade. And by the end of this video, you're going to be asking the same question everyone in Washington is asking right now. Should the federal government step in to save Caitlin Clark, or is the WNBA already beyond saving?
But one thing I will not do is take credit for this. I am looking at the Wall Street Journal. The author of the article is a guy by the name of Sean McLean. Let me read to y'all the opening couple of graphs, because I want you to hear the impact of this. This is serious. This is serious. And I could say it with my team here, having the footage and the receipts to back me up. I could be in that I told you so mode. I really, really could. But I ain't going to do that, because I'm in a good mood. I'm going to be chill. But I could be saying I told you so. Because let me read this.
Listen, when I tell you the federal government is now watching the WNBA, this isn't some casual observation. This is full-blown governmental attention, because absolutely nobody in positions of power addressed the fact that Caitlin Clark has been getting dropped on that court like she personally owed half the league money. While Commissioner Engelbert and her executives have been tiptoeing around this situation like they're walking on eggshells, hoping they could just wait it out and it would magically disappear, the reality is staring them dead in the face. This isn't going away. And now it's gotten so bad that when players are literally throwing elbows at the biggest star in women's basketball, refs are acting like they're suddenly blind, and league executives are staying mute like their vocal cords got cut. The federal government said, hold up, we need to take a look at this. And can we talk about Commissioner Kathy Engelbert for a hot second? This woman is literally being paid millions of dollars to lead this league, but right now, she's leading them straight into complete and utter silence. I'm talking quieter than a library during finals week levels of silent. The most infuriating part is that if she had just responded early, she had just done her job and protected her biggest star from day one, none of this would have escalated to federal attention. But instead, we've watched Caitlin Clark get hit repeatedly, both on the court and off the court, during live play and during dead balls, with absolutely zero consequences. No ejections, no suspensions, no fines, just straight-up vibes and thoughts and prayers while their golden goose is getting abused. Now, I need to give credit where credit is due, because I'm not just making this stuff up out of thin air. The Wall Street Journal, the Wall Street Journal had reporter Sean McLean break this story wide open, and my team has been sitting on footage and receipts for weeks. I could literally be in full I told you so mode right now, but I'm choosing to be chill about it because this situation is way too serious for petty victory laps. This is serious with a capital S, and I need everyone watching to understand just how serious this has gotten. Let me break down the 3 most defining incidents that have everyone from senators to sports analysts losing their absolute minds. First, we had Kennedy Carter's blindside hit that was so brutal it became instantly famous across social media. Then Diamond DeShields came through with what can only be described as a linebacker move. Like, girl, this is basketball, not the NFL. And don't even get me started on Marina Mabur's so-called defense. That looked more like assault than anything resembling basketball. Oh, and we can't forget Tina Charles throwing what basically amounted to a sneak punch. At this point, fans were literally asking if they were watching basketball or Street Fighter, and honestly, that's a valid question. Here's what makes this whole situation even more insane. None of these were legitimate basketball plays. These weren't hard fouls that got out of hand or aggressive defense that crossed a line. These were full-body shoves that looked like these players were auditioning to be stunt doubles in action movies. But the league just stood there with their arms crossed, pretending like this was all normal, everyday basketball. Despite the fact that Caitlin Clark is single-handedly responsible for the WNBA's biggest financial boom in history. The league literally decided it was cheaper to let their biggest star get hurt than to actually protect her. And that cost-benefit analysis is about to bite them in ways they never imagined. The absolute audacity of wanting all the benefits of having Caitlin Clark without taking any responsibility for protecting her is mind-blowing. This girl has been selling out arenas, breaking television ratings records, moving jersey sales through the roof, causing WNBA app downloads to skyrocket. And what does she get in return? Shoulders to the ribs and everyone looking the other way like it's not happening. But here's the thing about silence. Eventually, it stops being neutral and starts being complicit. And that's exactly where the WNBA found themselves when Senator Jim Banks sent a federal letter demanding answers. He wasn't asking for special treatment for Caitlin Clark. He was asking for the basic protection that a NY-star player should receive in a NY-professional league. The Wall Street Journal didn't just report on this story. They framed it as a potential civil rights issue, which should have been a massive warning shot to the WNBA that they were treading in potentially illegal territory. Stephen A. Smith has been predicting federal investigations for weeks, and there's even speculation that Trump might use this as a political rallying point. You imagine the chaos if this story breaks the internet with half of America fired up and the other half boiling mad. This is exactly the wrong kind of front-page news the WNBA should be getting. But they're not listening to fans. They're not listening to players. They're not listening to journalists. And now they're about to find out what happens when you don't. Listen to the federal government. Let's talk numbers for a second, because the statistical impact Caitlin Clark has had on this league is absolutely insane. Merchandise sales are up 601%. That's not a typo. That's 601%. Indiana Fever viewership jumped 170%. Team valuation has literally tripled. League Pass subscriptions climbed 366%. App engagement rose 613%. And she's pulled in $11 million in endorsement deals. These aren't just good numbers. These are league-transforming, game-changing, generational numbers. But here's the core issue that has everyone from Congress to casual fans absolutely livid. The WNBA wants all the growth and respect that comes with having a transcendent star. But they refuse to act seriously about protecting that star. Cannot promote a player in commercials, move games to bigger arenas, raise ticket prices, and encourage fans to invest emotionally and financially in your product. Then turn around and refuse to protect the very player you're building everything around. People are flying across the country to watch Caitlin Clark play. Kids are wearing her jersey to school. Families are spending money they don't have on tickets. And then they have to watch her get hit so hard, there's a legitimate question about whether she'd be able to finish the game. The Wall Street Journal put it perfectly when they wrote that the league is ignoring the targeting of their most transformative star and treating their greatest asset like a public relations headache. warning that this approach could become a serious legal problem. And that legal problem is starting to materialize in ways the WNBA never saw coming. Think about it like this. If you paid $400 to watch LeBron James play basketball, like genuinely good money to see a superstar perform, and then you watched him get blindsided and body-checked while referees pretended they didn't see it, you'd be furious. Now, multiply that by the millions of dollars being wagered on WNBA games through sports betting. And suddenly, you've got a situation where calling obvious fouls starts looking suspicious enough to trigger federal investigations. The Wall Street Journal reported that teams were literally having locker room discussions about targeting Caitlin Clark. And even Sophie Cunningham, who's now Caitlin's teammate, admitted there wasn't enough protection for her. ESPN analyst Rebecca Lobo went through every single controversial play and confirmed they were all fouls that should have been called. Dick Vitale pointed out the absolutely ridiculous contradiction that Caitlin Clark received $1.29 million All-Star votes from fans, but was ranked 9th by WNBA players. That's not basketball analysis, that's pure jealousy. As Vitale said, someday they will realize what she's done for this league. Referring to the chartered planes, salary increases, packed crowds, and record ratings that all came because of Caitlin Clark's impact. The most telling moment came when Sophie Cunningham, who went from being part of Phoenix team discussions about targeting Caitlin to becoming her teammate and seeing the abuse from the other side, confirmed that even she thinks it's too much. When your own teammate thinks you're being abused, that says absolutely everything about how bad this situation has gotten. Now we need to address the uncomfortable truth that has this story moving into civil rights territory. Caitlin Clark is white, straight, and extremely marketable. And there's genuine resentment about those characteristics from some players in the league. This isn't speculation. We've seen this pattern before with players like Candace Wiggins, who was bullied out of the WNBA, partly for being straight. Now we're watching Caitlin Clark face similar treatment for being white, straight, and incredibly successful. And that toxic culture is approaching the level of civil rights violations that have the Department of Justice circling. Meanwhile, Commissioner Engelbert is still doing her best mime impression, staying completely silent while her job description literally includes growing the league and protecting its stars. Instead, her biggest star is getting tossed around like a rag doll while the league becomes a political target for federal investigation. All the signs of panic are their loss of control, inability to manage the narrative, and the growing realization that Caitlin Clark might end up owning the league in court before she leads it in points. Lawsuits are coming, complaints are stacking up, and every single video of every hit, every non-call, every missed foul is going to become evidence in legal proceedings. The most frustrating part is how avoidable all of this was. The WNBA could have suspended players, they could have fined teams, they could have instructed referees to call fouls fairly, but instead, they chose to let it build and tried to wait it out. Now they've got heat coming from Congress, media, and fans, and they're acting all surprised that this exploded into a national controversy. Some people want to excuse this as just being hazed or normal treatment for new stars. But Caitlin Clark isn't a rookie. She's in her second year. She's an MVP candidate. She led the league in assists, and she's already earned her stripes. The bruises she's collecting now aren't part of paying dues. They're evidence of a league that refuses to protect its players equally. What makes this even more obvious is that nitrogen monoxide other star player faces this level of targeting. Sabrina Ionescu doesn't get blindsided. Breena Stewart doesn't get body-checked. And if they did, you can bet the league would shut it down immediately. The double standard is so blatant that even casual fans are noticing and asking questions about why Caitlin Clark is being treated differently. People try to excuse this by saying it's just trash talk, But every player in the WNBA talks trash that doesn't justify violence. Others claim she's cocky, but confidence isn't a foul, and if it was, half the league would be on the bench. Some argue it's just physical play, but this is the same player who led NCAA division I in scoring while being triple-teamed. She didn't suddenly become soft overnight. Maybe it's the league's culture that needs a complete makeover instead of expecting one player to accept abuse as the price of success. The real problem is the silence, the pretending, and the gaslighting of fans who can see exactly what's happening with their own eyes. True respect means equal protection and honest officiating, not turning your biggest star into a punching bag while executives count the money she's generating. What's even more disturbing is that some players seem to be straight up enjoying this targeting, like it's become a team-building exercise to see who can hit Caitlin Clark the hardest. Social media is full of cryptic tweets and shady posts acting like she deserves this treatment for having the audacity to be popular. This isn't competition. This is resentment. And it's turning the league into a joke where more time is spent debating violence than celebrating basketball. Even Caitlin Clark's own fans are starting to notice and question what they're watching. This was supposed to be a once-in-a-generation opportunity for the WNBA. They had a player who brought millions of new eyes to the league, turning casual observers into season ticket holders, getting people who never cared about women's basketball to suddenly become invested fans. The WNBA's response: they shrugged and let her become a crash test dummy while telling fans to trust the process. Great plan. Really forward-thinking leadership there. Now the feds are involved. Trump might get involved. Stephen A. Smith is reading Civil Rights Law on Television, and all of this could have been prevented with the absolute bare minimum of leadership. All it would have taken was blowing a whistle, handing out a fine, and saying, "We don't allow this in our league." Instead, they've got heat coming from fans, media, lawmakers, and lawyers, while Commissioner Engelbert is probably watching ESPN on mute, hoping this all goes away. Spoiler alert, it's not going away. This isn't just a Caitlin Clark issue anymore. This has become a league issue, a leadership issue, and a branding issue that threatens everything the WNBA has worked to build. You cannot expect public investment and support while refusing to protect your investments. Can you imagine the NBA letting someone body check Steph Curry game after game? Any other professional league would shut this down immediately. But the WNBA chose silence, cover-ups, and passive-aggressive interviews. We are now officially at the civil rights violation stage. That's not hyperbole. That's legal terminology. This case would be relatively easy to prove in court with all the documented evidence. And while it might not be a slam dunk, there's definitely enough for a courtroom battle. Once discovery starts and emails get subpoenaed, text threads get examined, and timelines get established. We're going to find out exactly who knew what, when they knew it, and why they chose to do nothing. The WNBA brought this entirely on themselves. Here's where we stand right now. Caitlin Clark is still performing at an elite level, still selling out arenas, still staying professional while the rest of the league plays backyard brawl. The WNBA has two choices: get real about protecting their players equally, or face the legal consequences of their negligence. Your move, Kathy Engelbert. But remember that this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about leadership, fairness, and government oversight. So what do you think? Should Caitlin Clark get fair treatment like any other star, or should this become a political issue? Let me know in the comments. Smash that like button if this story shocked you. And subscribe for more breaking sports drama, because this story is far from over.